Good morning and welcome to a second chance. My name is Philip Jones.
And my name is Tafaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease. If you or you know someone who has kidney disease and needs to be coached, reach out to us at kidneycarecoaches.com.
Today we have a very, very special guest with us today, Dee Moore from Diary of a Kidney Warrior. Very excited to have her on the show. Actually, been kind of looking forward to this for a while now. So, very, very, very excited. Dee, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. So, we're going to get straight into it. The floor is yours.
Okay, hi. Well, I'd just like to start by saying thank you for inviting me on the show. It's really nice to have the opportunity to share my story with people over the pond. And it's nice to actually be interviewed because I'm so used to interviewing people now. So thank you for this opportunity. It really is an honor. Um, in terms of my story begins in 2018. I'd never had any issues with my kidneys. At that time, I had been on my weight loss journey. I'd lost 3 stone. I was taking care of myself, exercising regularly. Um, don't drink, don't smoke. Drinking plenty of water. So as far as I was concerned, I was doing everything that I should do to take care of my health. But I noticed that I started to become unwell, and I was feeling unwell. Flu-like symptoms. I felt run down, very tired. Um, Things became quite, you know, everyday tasks became more and more difficult. And I was just like, okay, I'm just a bit run down. I ignored it, carried on with work, taking care of my family, etc., etc. But as the weeks rolled into months, I started to progress, to feel progressively worse, to the point where I stopped exercising because I didn't have any energy, started to gain back weight, and I just really did not feel well. But again, putting it off and saying, I've got annual leave coming up. I'll rest. I'll be fine. But then the red flag for me was then I started getting headaches, and and that for me was something I couldn't ignore because of a previous medical condition that I had. And so I went along to A&E, just expecting that they would just give me paracetamol or ibuprofen and send me on my way. But the doctor came back and she told me that my infection markers were through the roof and they had to admit me. And I was like really taken aback and shocked. So I was admitted. I was on the like a unit for a night. That was an experience while they decided what to do with me. And then the next night I was on a ward. And from that night on, I started fevering and my temperature like just went through the roof. However, I was freezing cold. So even though my temperature was sky high, I'm literally my teeth are chattering, I'm shivering, and then I'm breaking out in sweats, and like I'm literally soaked from head to foot, like through my sheets, through my clothes, everything, all night, every night. And 1 week into being in the hospital, the doctors told me that my kidneys were failing and they didn't know why. And I was absolutely shocked, like, what on earth? Like, didn't know what was happening. And my kidney function plummeted. They were doing test after test after test on me, like every single test that you can think of. I had it. MRI scan, CT scan, blood cultures, ultrasounds, endoscopy, like you name it, I had it. And during that time, they had all these different theories as to what it could be. And so they were telling me these different things. They thought I had cancer, they thought I had this, they thought I had that. And then I had had to deal with that psychologically of, could it be this, could it be that? And 7.5 weeks into being in the hospital, they finally decided to put me on steroid treatment. And this, after the second dose, stopped the fevers. And my kidney function, which at that time had plummeted down to, I think, about 13%. So I was getting very close to the dialysis zone, which I really did not want to end up on, the steroids worked and my kidney function came up a little bit. So I was then discharged after 8.5 weeks of being in the hospital. I was discharged, and I just thought that I would get better, that, this was a transient thing, they would pick up. But at the same time, I had this kind of fear that, oh my gosh, I'm going to die kind of thing. So I had, things dealing with. And then in the December of 2018, my kidney function plummeted again. And then they decided to try a really strong treatment to see whether that would help my kidney function. And that was February 2019. And that treatment failed. So I was now presented with the reality that my kidney disease wasn't something that was just going to fix or go away on its own. It was something that was with me for life. And so I kind of was like, well, what do I do? This disease is in my life now. What am I going to do about it? And I spent some time pondering about it. And then I decided to start a vlog, which I named Diary of a Kidney Warrior. And so I started the vlog in, I think, April of 2019. And I just started to share my journey and what I was going through at that time, because I thought maybe this will help other people. Because I really believe that everything happens for a reason. And, especially when something bad happens, that something good should come out of it. So I started sharing my journey online. And then in May 2019, my consultant told me that he believed that I was 6 months away from dialysis. And my immediate response to that was, no, I'm not. I'm not going to be on dialysis in 6 months. I'm going to prove you wrong. God's going to prove you wrong. I'm not going to be on dialysis. And I was really defiant and determined. But we went home and reality really set in, and I just felt absolutely distraught and low. And I went to see my health coach, and she said something to me that completely transformed my thinking and can transform my life, really. And she said to me, Dee, I want you to choose, you have to choose to live. I want you to choose to live. And I want you to say those words. I want you to say those words, I choose to live. And I sat there in silence and I didn't want to say anything at all. And I just sat there, and she left me and gave me some space. And I sat there for about half an hour in silence, because I was just done. I was just like, I've had enough. This is my second major illness. I'm tired of all of this. I've had enough. But as I sat and I thought about it, and then I just was like, I choose to live, really, really quietly. I choose to live. I choose to live. I choose to live. And I got louder and louder until I would actually start shouting, I choose to live, at the top of my voice.
Right.
And from that moment on, I chose to live. And I was just determined that I was going to live. I didn't know how long that I had to live, and whether that was a day, a week, a month, a year, or 20 years. I was going to live. I was going to live. And so I continued with the vlog, and I started getting back into exercise. And the December of that year, I started a 10-day challenge, and I did exercise every day for 10 days. And that really kind of people started kind of being interested in more in my journey, because I was sharing more on Instagram, my journey. And so I was sharing my story, on social media. And then in August of and then a few months after that, my husband suggested that I start a podcast. And my immediate response to that was, what is a podcast? I'd never heard of a podcast before. So I started to do some research, and I looked at different podcasts and asked people at work and this, that, and the other. And then Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast was born, and that was August of 2020. And so I've been podcasting ever since. And so, yeah, my journey started, in that hospital, and now I'm at the point where, I'm interviewing fellow kidney warriors, and I'm interviewing health professionals because I want that holistic good, the bad, and the ugly of kidney disease. I want to explore every area because I think that it's so important that everybody has a realistic view. I'm very much into encouragement and speaking life, but I also want people to be empowered with the knowledge to be able to cope with the tough times. So I also talk about the things that are difficult as well. So yeah, that's kind of summary of my
Hey,
story.
that's an amazing story, and we appreciate you as well. And that's awesome that you started, the podcast. I have a question out here. Bella said, "What was your disease? What was actually the name of your kidney disease?"
Well, in the end, they because they couldn't decide what caused it, so they gave me a very generic term of they suggested maybe vasculitis, or that it was caused by autoimmune, but they
Hmm.
couldn't actually come with a specific reason why my kidneys were failing. So, oh, and the thing I didn't mention was I'm pleased to say that I'm still a kidney unicorn, so I'm not on dialysis. And at the time my consultant made his prediction, my kidney function was 15, and it round about now. Usually it's around about 26, 27. So it's actually higher than he made that prediction.
Good, good. Let me ask you another question. On the weight loss journey, now, was you taking any weight loss supplements, anything like that that might have triggered it? Oh, okay. You was just eating clean and things like that, right?
I was training 4 times a week and
Okay.
just trying to eat clean. But I shared online, what I've done in terms of maintaining my kidney function. But things that I started to do was, although it does have potassium for people that have to be careful of potassium. I have lemon water on an empty stomach every morning. I I've cut out, for the most part, red meat,
Yeah.
and I've cut down on meat um, overall. So I try not to have meat 2 days or 2 meals in a row,
Right.
and watching salt, trying to drink plenty of water. I don't drink a lot of pop. I think you call it soda.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't drink a lot of pop anyway, and things like that. And I really believe that plus taking my medication, attending my appointments, being responsible, being accountable, but most importantly, making that choice to live is why I'm still here now. Because I really believe that you can be dead mentally long before you're dead physically, and one triggers the other. If you give up and just throw your hands up and say, "Well, that's it," then chances are your body is going to follow too. So I try and keep that positive mental attitude to say, I'm trusting in God, I'm taking care of myself, and I think by encouraging other people, that encourages me as well.
Right. Let me ask you another question, if you don't mind. What was your earlier illness? You said you had an illness before this one.
Yeah, so basically, when I was pregnant with my first son,
Mhm.
I I was seriously ill. So I became, everything was fine, and then I became seriously ill, and I started having headaches. So this is why headaches was a red flag for me.
Right.
So I was having these headaches, going to the doctors, they were ignoring me. This was 5 months into my pregnancy, and the headaches got so bad I couldn't think straight, I couldn't function. It was really, really bad. Fast forward a few months, the headache stopped. I started going blind. The doctors didn't listen to me. I had to basically fight for my own life. And to cut a long story short, when I was 38 weeks into my pregnancy, 38 and a half weeks into my pregnancy, I saw an ophthalmologist who suspected that I had a tumor. And so, to cut a very long story short, what happened was I had a lymphocytic hypophysitis. And
Oh, okay.
this means that when I got pregnant, my body attacked my pituitary, and my pituitary expanded so big that it was crushing my optic nerves, and that's what
Ooh.
was causing me to go blind. And
Mhm.
so I was induced. So I had my son on the Sunday, and then 2 days later I had brain surgery. So yeah, it was a really It was a really bad illness.
Wow.
Which so yeah.
Yeah, we have a question. Was it hypertension that might have been causing the headaches? Did they say anything like that?
With which at which time?
The first time, like when you first start getting headaches, when you thought it was the sign, like
Oh
high
no.
blood pressure. So,
In my pregnancy, no. And with my kidney disease, no. It
okay,
was literally the pressure of my pituitary crushing my optic nerves that was causing the headaches and the blindness. The headaches within the kidney disease, I have no idea why. There was literally no reason why I had headaches. I think that was just God's way of getting me to walk through the hospital
right,
door,
right, right,
because literally as I went in the hospital, the headache stopped. It's weird, isn't it? So I think that was God's way of getting me through the door, because he knew that was the only way I was going to go.
right. Erica has a question right here, and I like this question. She says, "What would you have done differently now that you know what was going on with your body in terms of how you advocated for yourself with your doctor?" That's a great question.
I think that from my first pregnancy, I've very much been an advocate for myself, and
Yeah.
I really, my saying is you have to be your own health manager. So in
Mhm.
terms of what I would have done differently, um, the answer to that question is I couldn't really, because at that time, because when I went into the hospital and a week in, they told me my kidneys were failing. I thought I walked into the hospital with normal kidney function,
Okay.
and my kidneys plummeted when I was in the hospital. But actually, when the doctors looked at my blood results over a number of years, my kidney function had actually been declining over the years. But I did not know that.
Right.
So if had I have known, believe me, I would have advocated for myself. But unfortunately, because I didn't know, and I guess, and I've interviewed several people for whom this is the case. They don't
Mhm.
tell you your kidney's failing until you're really in trouble. So they
Right.
wait for you to get sick before they say anything. So with the knowledge that I have now, I think that I would be like, well, what is my kidney function? And if I had known that there would any change in, believe me, I'd be, because trust me, I have a reputation. When I was in the hospital, I had a reputation for being very forthright and very, I told off everybody from the consultant to the cleaner. Um, so yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't told. I didn't know.
And I agree with that because now that I know the information, sometimes when people call me or if somebody I know is in the hospital, I'm telling them to check certain things. And when I hear certain things now, I'm like, okay, this is a sign that your kidneys might not be working properly. So ask the doctors about your kidney function, and probably want to get a creatinine test or GFR, some sort of like that, so we can understand that. But you said 7.5 to 8 weeks in a hospital. I'm going back to your story. That was a
Hmm.
long time that to have you
Yeah.
in there and them not knowing what was going on. So the steroids they gave you, was it? I'm guesstimating. You correct me if I'm wrong. Was that prednisone they were giving you?
Yeah, over here it's prednisolone, but
Oh,
yeah.
prednisolone. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but over here it's called prednisolone. But yeah, I was so yeah, so for that last week that I was in the hospital, they put me, so 7.5 weeks in, I was literally just on the early, I think I was on antibiotics for a few days, and then for the rest of the time I was just taking paracetamol. That was it. And then for that last week, 7.5 weeks in, for till the 8.5 week, I was on prednisolone, very high
Mhm.
doses of
I can
prednisolone.
only imagine. Yeah, yeah.
And you know what
Wow.
that does.
I
So,
do, and your appetite, because they started me off at one time 100 milligrams, and it was my head looked like a balloon. I kept on eating up everything. My friends in the gym thought I was getting bigger with muscle, and I was like, "Nah, this is fat." So, and
wow.
so I get it, and it's a really strong medicine right here. Bella has a question also. I wanna chime in with her question right here. She says if it sorry, it known that people who have early physicians are not given a renal panel, which is what will reveal any illness. And she is absolutely right. And that's
Yeah.
again that's what we talked about right there, where we have to tell people about these questions, especially when we hear these signs that, hey, you might be going into renal failure.
Yeah.
Check XYZ and things like that, because that's a really, really good point right there. Now, let me ask you a question. It said you went back in on May 2019, and that's when you said, I choose to live. I believe when you get that confirmation of I choose to live, I think the universe starts working with you. It starts opening up doors, and you start. Tell me how you felt with that, because it sounds like you felt overpowered, but I don't want to talk.
Excuse me, sorry. How I felt when I said I choose to live.
Yes, that's empowering.
It changed me.
Right.
I think I think that's when I really took on not just the term warrior, but became a warrior. That's when I really became a kidney warrior. When I made that decision to live, it wasn't just about, oh, what's happening to me. It's what am I going to do?
Right.
What am I going to do to empower myself? What am I going to do to help other people? What am I going to do to change my situation for the better? And yeah, that's the change that it did.
Wow, that's amazing. Go ahead, Phil.
Oh, I was like, why are you not saying nothing? Real quick, I'm gonna go to a commercial and I'll come back with my question. Welcome back to a second chance. So before we went on commercial, we were talking about you stating "I choose to live," and like Ms. Cook says, that's real powerful because basically what you just did was take back your life. You put yourself back in control to be able to uh, make the outcome what it is, what you wanted. Like you said, you didn't want to do dialysis, so you made the changes that you needed to make after that was said to put yourself in a healthier position. Um, and I'm actually going to turn it back over to Mr. Cook. I'm not feeling the best today. I apologize. But I do have a couple questions at the end I'll get to later. But Mr. Cook, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, so going back to your podcast, so your husband was the catalyst for the podcast because you started blogging. Explain to us about that. Talk to us
About what? Sorry.
talk to us about your podcast and who you feature and what you do on it and how you started it and things like
Okay, so I started. It was August of 2020. Um, it was released like officially on Affinity Extra Network and released out on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast streams. And the first episode was just my story, so it was just me um, telling everybody, this is how my kidney journey started, and it was really tough actually. I got quite emotional when I recorded that, and like my voice kind of trailed off at the end. So in my inexperience, I kind of recorded just the last bit again, which just sounded really terrible. But it's my first episode, and I put it out there, and I was like, oh, I wonder if anybody's gonna listen. But yeah, so I started with that episode, and then the next episode was an interview with a kidney warrior from the USA called Jerome SB, and he shared his kidney transplant story. And with each episode, I was trying to capture something different. So I had an interview with a renal nurse, so we went back to the day one, because what I wanted to do was take somebody from the point that you've been told that you've got the diagnosis to being able to manage and live well and thrive, because it's not just about surviving, it's about living, it's
that.
about thriving, it's about overcoming. And so for me, knowledge is power, and so I wanted to empower people with as much knowledge as possible. And so we did an episode where we looked at what is kidney disease, what causes it, what's the treatments, this, that, and the other. And yeah, so from there, interviewing different people from both from the UK and from abroad. And yeah, it then grew to then Kidney Care UK, then partnering with me on the podcast, which was
Oh, nice.
amazing for me, that one of the major charities over here for kidney patients to be interested in supporting what I'm doing. I'm like, wow, working together to empower patients. So that came about July of 2021. So within a year that happened. And for me, it was like the ultimate seal of approval that a major charity is saying, yes, we want to, work with you on this. And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing. So I've interviewed a transplant surgeon, and we've covered topics on like pregnancy, on weight loss most recently, we've looked at hypertension and diabetes and their connection with kidney disease, specifically in terms of the Black community. So for Black History Month, which in England, Black History Month is in October, so we get an extra 3 days. And
Right.
and so for Black History Month, I looked at issues that specifically relate to the Black community as well, because in the UK, Black people are 5 times more likely to develop kidney disease. And so I wanted to look at, what the second episode in the series was, why are Black people more likely to develop kidney disease, and what are we doing about it? And so, yeah, I'm really trying to, like I said, for me, it's about the whole picture. It's not just about the good. It's not just about the bad. It's about everything,
Right.
and that is what I'm really trying to get the heart of in with the podcast. And because when it, I don't think you can do one without the other. For me, it's like if you only interview patients or kidney warriors, you're not going to get the whole picture. If you only interview the health professionals, you're not going to get the whole picture. You need to get both. And nothing can beat that lived experience. The professional could be working in the field for 20, 30, whatever years, but they're not living it. They're not going through that every day.
Right.
They're not living with the implications of being exhausted, of being tired, of
Hmm.
not being able to eat this, not being able to drink that, not, feeling isolated, being the only one in their family that have kidney disease, or whatever the situation is. They're not living with that, but we are. So it was always important to me from day one that there was that balance.
Yeah, and I'm always intrigued about someone who has kidney disease and it goes so far down, like they're so close to dialysis, like yourself, and then bounce back. So, and I think nutrition is big. So, I wanted to ask you, what's a typical day of what your nutrition looks like a normal day for Dee?
Like a really good day. Um,
Oh, it's a challenge. We fight all the time. It's a challenge. I get that. Yeah.
well, as I said, I always start each day with lemon water because lemon alkalizes the body, as you know,
Yeah.
and keeping the body as alkaline as possible
Yeah.
is very
So
important when you have kidney disease. So I always start with lemon water, and usually I then oil pull after that because I think I'm protecting my teeth,
right.
but also I think it also helps your general health to oil pull. So I was watching a video where they were saying that oil pulling is better than mouthwash because mouthwash kills germs in mouth that your mouth
That you
needs. And
need. Right.
actually, yeah. So I oil pull. A breakfast may be if a really good day is porridge oats made with
Okay.
water,
Hmm.
and then to sweeten that, I will sweeten that with either blueberries
Okay.
or or apple. Or so I'll sweeten that with blueberries or apple. Sometimes I may add flax seeds to that
Okay.
because
Which
it,
is healthy.
helps with your, you know,
Yeah. Great bowel
yeah,
movement. Let's just say
bowel
it.
movements and all the rest of
right.
it,
Right.
keeping it out. And I'll have that, and then an egg for protein
Hmm.
because I'm not vegan, so I
Right.
do eat eggs.
Right.
Um, and then I might have, yeah, so I might have that for breakfast. A lunch might be soup with again an egg for the protein. And depending on whether it's a meat-free day or not, it might be like a hearty vegetable soup or a chicken and vegetable soup. Um, uh, and then with that again, an egg for the protein. Might be some fruit along the way. Fruit I like to have apples mainly because obviously they're kidney friendly. But sometimes I'll have mango or pineapple, which aren't necessarily kidney friendly, but I do have them. Um, um, what do I have for dinner? Dinner varies. So if it's a meat-free day, it might be like a bolognese made with meat-free. The meat-free
Hmm.
meat,
Yep.
meat-free meat, if that makes
Right.
sense.
I got you. Meatless meat.
Meatless meat.
Yeah.
But if it is a meat day, then I would use turkey mince.
okay. Hmm.
Yeah, so I don't have beef, as I said. I've cut out red meat really. So I'd have that with pasta, mixed vegetables.
Okay.
Vegetable wise, I do eat. I like carrots, so
Okay.
it might be carrots with. I do like asparagus as well because that asparagus helps you wee. um, and I do like to have roasted vegetables as well. So, I like to roast like bell peppers, onions, um, spring onions, all of that kind of Mediterranean
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
olive oil, like
Hmm.
kind of thing. So my meals vary. So depending on whether it's a meat day or a meat free day, it's substituting out what might
Right.
be, yeah.
And the reason why I asked that is because I wanted people to understand how you eat to thrive, so your kidneys can stay functioning properly. And that's
Mm.
what I wanted what you were what you're doing is the reason why you're eating like this is so the kidneys can thrive.
Yeah.
And I believe proper nutrition is where we all have to start at, even if you are on dialysis. But what you're saying is you're giving us information, and I believe in the Mediterranean diet because that's kind of diet I'm on, and I'm a transplant recipient, and I don't eat a lot of meat, and I come from a background of eating a lot of meat. I used to train bodybuilders and stuff like
Okay.
that, and we all thought about you have to eat a lot of protein, but I reversed that in myself because I don't believe in it because of my kidney challenges. And I just wanted people to hear what an everyday nutrition is for yourself, where people can listen and go, okay, this is how she's eating. She's not talking about fast food. She's not talking about eating, big, heavy portions of beef and things like that. Now, and that's what I wanted you to hear. And you probably eat salads and stuff like that too, which is good.
Yeah, I eat salads. Like salad wise, I like to have like cucumber, the
Hmm.
kind of cucumber, bell pepper, tomatoes type salads. I'm not so much into lettuce type salads.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, do they still have you on? What kind of medicines are you on right now, and how often do you see your nephrologist?
That varies depending. Usually, um, the I'm due to see them this week actually, and that was
Okay.
4 weeks ago. But it tends to be 4 to 6 to 8 weeks depending.
Hmm.
So that's how often I see my consultant. Medication wise, I'm taking prednisolone. It,
Hmm.
it Someone asked me once, "Oh, are you on a lot of medication?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." But actually, when I started counting it up, it was like, "Wow!" So prednisolone, folic acid,
Okay.
vitamin D,
Right.
um, EPO, yeah,
Yeah,
um,
the EPOs to bring your hemoglobin up. That's what a
yeah,
lot of people. I want people to know that. That's why she's taking it right now. Because
and
I tell
then
people, I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go
and then I also am on losartan, which is
ahead.
it's a blood pressure medicine. Even though I don't have high blood pressure, but it's to help the protein leak.
Gotcha.
So they've got me on that as well.
Yeah, because they say you're leaking a little protein as well, and that's what happens also. But has your function stabilized with your kidney though? Pretty much. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So so when it so for the past, I'd say, year and a half, going towards 2 years now, it's been hovering around the 26 plus mark, which
Okay,
I'm
that's good.
very, very grateful for.
Right, right, good. And you still exercise and still doing the exercise? Are you lifting weights? Or what's your exercise kind of look like?
Well, I had to pause my exercise for a while.
Okay,
Unfortunately, I had an issue with my feet, and that kind of put a spanner in my works. And so, and then I more recently, I you know was in a minor car crash where someone crashed into the back of me, so I had to pause things for a while. But I'm looking to get back into my training. But I do things like I like high impact stuff. So I like badminton.
okay,
If I'm exercising at home, then I'll be doing skipping. I lift weights. I like to
okay.
do circuit and hit. If
Hmm.
I'm out of the home, then I like to do boxing, badminton, hit classes. I do like the really high impact stuff, and
Yeah,
also go walking as well.
good.
So that's my normal routine is that.
Now, has the family adopted your lifestyle in a way? Have they like, okay, look, we're gonna all jump on board and start exercising and eating like mom and things like that?
Well, to be honest, that my husband has always been taking care. He's, six pack, athletic type.
Okay.
Anyway, so he was always like preaching to me more than the other way around. So he's always taken care of himself. He plays football, what we call football, which is
Yeah,
real
soccer.
football.
Right.
Yeah, you call it soccer, but we call it football. And so he's done that for years, the whole time we've
Okay.
been together. So he's always been a fit bud. However, he started cutting down on meat over the past couple of years. So I'd say that's been a difference for him. And then my children, both of them are, well, one of them is a Birchfield Harrier, which Birchfield Harriers are an athletics club that a lot of the
Okay.
British, a lot of the British that you see, athletes come from that club, so it's a really
Right.
famous club over here, and he's into triple jump. So
Okay. Yeah,
yeah, so
I can tell.
his first series, his first season, and he's doing really
Okay.
well. So I'm really proud of him. So look out for Xavier Moore in the future. I'm really proud of him. And my other son, he lifts weights. So to be
Okay.
honest, my children, yeah, they, as all children do, and when I'm saying children, they're 17 and 18, so they're teenage young men.
Right.
Um, yeah, they'll eat junk if they get it, but generally, they're not too bad. I'd say that my influence has really been okay. We're gonna have a meat-free day today, so I'd say that's probably been the biggest difference. But to be honest with you, and this is probably sounds really funny, but the biggest argument we have in our house is over water because I have a water distiller, and they will drink off all the water and leave me without any. So yeah, believe it or not, that is the biggest argument in our house sometimes. You haven't filled up the water distiller and you've drank all the
Right.
water.
Right. Right. So, in other words, mom was the one who had to catch up on the on the health tip, if you will. They were like, "We told you, come on, catch up now," and that's. I'm glad you're doing it now, and you got good reason. So that's wonderful, right there. That's wonderful. But let's talk about the disparity because over here in America, we have a big disparity too. Where when I go to dialysis centers, we all know that most of the time I see just us. So
Mhm.
I kind of thought it would be like that over there too. But let's talk about that disparity.
Mhm. So over here, I don't know. I'm assuming the same as America that you'll see in the dialysis, you'll see lots of black people. In the transplants, you'll see lots of white people. So
Yes.
that's the thing over here,
Hmm.
which obviously, um, we're trying to do something about. I think that there's still a lot of misinformation and distrust and fear around organ donation, and which obviously then makes transplantation more challenging. The thing, the paired scheme or the pooled scheme, as it is over here, has resulted in more Black patients being able to get kidney transplants. However, there's still, a Black person is still more likely to wait a lot longer to get any type of transplant, sorry,
Right. Hmm.
um, than their white counterparts. And as I said, more education needs to be done because I was talking to somebody and they'd heard a campaign on the radio that basically was saying that, oh, if you give your, if you sign the card, which over here it's an opt out. So
That's what I
they've
wanted to
changed,
talk to you about.
yeah, they've changed the law here. So basically everybody's in until you decide to opt out. So what this individual had seen was a campaign basically saying, if you, agree to be a donor, then your organs will be given to a white person and
Wow.
not a Black person. And he was like, oh gosh, where did you hear that from?
Yeah.
And so in my capacity, socially, I get to challenge, misconception and attitudes. And obviously through the podcast, I make a conscious effort to
Hmm.
challenge people, and assure people and say, look, and in terms of living donation, it isn't just deceased donation.
Right.
Um, I mean, and that is an even bigger challenge to get people on board with. So I guess what it comes down to is there needs to be more people that look like them saying it. I think that, and I've actually said quite blatantly in meetings and saying we need to have more Black and Asian practitioners, working with the community, people within the different communities, encouraging people in these areas because they are not going to listen to a white person because
Right.
the distrust is with white practitioners. So there's still a lot of work that has to be done, and it seems like it's not just here; it's everywhere.
Yeah. The distrust is real. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people have that distrust, and we have that same situation over here, which is crazy. And I was going to ask you about the opt in, opt out. So are a lot of people opting out? Do they just normally take instead of and just opt out because they don't want to be organ donors? Or do people just let it go because they're automatically in? Talk about that.
Because the opt-in is so new, and because COVID has completely taken over, everything within the media, I don't really have a gauge on
Okay.
what the situation is overall, because it's just been completely taken over by COVID and all the
Okay.
issues around COVID. Because it only changed, was it last year? So it's very, very recent, or the year before. It's very, very recent.
What was the change? What was the change that you're talking about?
So the change in the law was before, um, you had to sign up to be an organ donor. The change
Right.
of the law was everybody's assumed to be an organ donor unless they
Okay.
sign not to be.
But did that change right there help people who needed transplants? I mean, was there a drastic difference right when the change happened? Because you would think that,
I would think
we would.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
I would
Okay.
think so. But what we also have to remember is that out of the many thousands of people who do die, then don't necessarily die in circumstances where their organs can be used for
True.
donation.
That's true.
So and that's the other thing, I think people think that, classic example of somebody dying in a car accident on the road, that dead body might be lying there for hours before it's taken to the hospital,
Mhm.
which means those organs cannot be used for organ donation. So there's only a small proportion of people who die in circumstances where organs can be used anyway. So while I would like to think it made a massive difference, you still got that same pool of people, essentially, whose organs could potentially be used anyway.
Right, right. But they're talking about, and what I hear from several doctors here, and I met a person that worked for UNOS here, United Network Organ Sharing. They talked about that we have a lot of wasted organs, also that organs that could have been used
Yeah,
and just weren't used. Do you guys have that disparity also in the UK?
I'm not aware of that, but
Okay.
it could well be, but I can't answer that question.
Right. Okay. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and thank you for answering questions. Because you know me, I can ask a lot of questions. Phil knows this, but Phil, go ahead. Phil's not feeling the best right now, but go ahead, Phil.
Oh,
Take it away,
Yeah, I
Phil.
apologize for not being very interactive today. I'm just, it's not a good day for me. It's just most
oh.
everybody that watches understands just transplant life. It's just we have these days where we're just kind of down in the dumps. But I want to ask you if before everything started, right, when you're dealing with all these symptoms, if you knew what you know now, then would you have made a different decision as opposed to waiting the time that you did to kind of just like let it pass and then come to your time off that you said you had coming and stuff like that. And the reason why I asked that question is because it fits what we do. We try to be. We don't only just deal with the post transplant, but it's the preventative side that's
Hmm.
important as well. Is educating people, and like Mr. Cook says, it's about coaching them how to use the information that we give them. So that's why I kind of wanted that ask you that question, because a lot of people are different. Some people are like, well, when I'm making my mind, that's how I'm making. Like, but how would you be able to do that if at that time now okay, such and such has happened, I need to get this checked out. There's a possibility that you probably could have found something out earlier if you knew I need to go to the hospital to get looked at. I'm having XYZ problems. So if you knew then what you know now, do you
Hmm.
think you would have made a different approach to those issues?
Absolutely. Like the second I had the first twinge, I would have got myself checked out. Because I'm a firm believer, and I did a vlog on, prevention is better than cure. And
Yes.
for me, if you don't have to end up there, why be anywhere near there? You know, if you're on the precipice of falling off a cliff, why be anywhere near the precipice of the cliff? Be as
Right.
far away from that drop as possible. Because at the end of the day, even if they can fix something, is it going to be as good as it was in the first place? So, why allow it to, the kidneys are so delicate, and the nephrons inside of the kidneys are delicate. if you can avoid damage to them. Why wait? I think that people take it for granted. Oh, well, pop a pill or there'll be a treatment. Well, why rely on a treatment? And remember, there's no cure for kidney disease. So why be in that position when you can prevent it? So, yep, from the second I started feeling unwell, if I knew what I knew now and that my kidneys were failing, believe me, I would have wholeheartedly run to the hospital and be like, help, help, help. And then maybe I wouldn't be stage 4, I'd be stage 3 or stage 2. I might still have kidney disease, but I'd be further up in terms of, and being in a position to halt the progression much earlier.
Right. And this is my last question, and we get ended. What can the people look forward to in the future from Diary of a Kidney Warrior?
What can people look forward to in the future? Just more, more content, more information, more stories. My ear is always open for suggestions, so do tweet me,
Yeah,
Instagram,
we need to talk
Facebook,
to you.
all the different platforms, and email. My ears are open for what people want to know, because at the end of the day, when you're living this disease and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to get information from, it can be very difficult. And when you've got all the symptoms and the struggles associated with having kidney disease as well, you want to be able to go somewhere, that one-stop shop, and get the things that you need. So look forward to more engaging content, more conversations, lots of more information, the opportunity to ask your questions, because I do have the listener-led episodes where people can send in their questions, and then I will then ask the health professional those questions on their behalf. So just look forward to growing in knowledge, growing in knowledge, faith, hope, and love, and having a great 2022 and beyond.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come on. We waited under an hour, so we good to go time wise. I know it's later on your side of the world, so we're gonna let you go
Across the
again.
pond.
I'm sorry, my speaking is not on your levels, but across the pond, I actually have a cousin that lives in Milan, Italy, and Japan as well. So,
Okay.
So again, thank you. We appreciate your story, appreciate your time. Definitely check out Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. It's on YouTube. What other platforms are you on?
It's on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Amazon, Listen Notes. It's on all podcasting platforms.
Awesome. Well, next week we won't be here on Sunday. We'll be here on Monday at our regular time of 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, with the Kidney Trails crew. Donald Williams and Anthony Reed going to come by and chat with us for a little bit. And then the week after that, we'll have Bella Langston will be coming by on the 6th of February, I believe. And definitely have an announcement to make later on. Once all that stuff comes through, I'll let you guys know what that is. So again, Dee, thank you, Mr. Cook. Appreciate you as always. And we will see you all next week, 2 weeks, somewhat. And have a great day.